You're listening to the Author Stories podcast with Hank Garner, where I bring you the story behind the stories and the storytellers. Be sure to check out all the archives at hankgarner.com. The Author Stories podcast is brought to you by Scrivener and by Third Scribe. If you're a writer and you're not using Scrivener, you are missing out on many opportunities to take your writing to the next level. To get a copy of Scrivener, go to getscrivener.com and use the checkout code HANK, H-A-N-K, to get 20% off. As we approach the end of the year, I wanted to take just a moment to tell you, all of my listeners, just how thankful I am for you joining me on this journey and for tuning in this year. I've had many great guests on the show, have made many great relationships with a lot of these authors, and you tuning in each week is what makes that possible. And I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you, and to remind you to stay listening next year. There's going to be lots of many new guests coming on. We're going to take the show to even better heights of success and more information for you. I'm going to keep bringing you the interviews that you love and that you ask for, and I just wanted to say thank you. Throughout the month of December, I've been bringing you some special edition episodes, and this is another one of those. I brought to you a few weeks ago an episode with Nick Cole where we talked about Apocalypse Weird, this new publishing project that is, you can't even really describe it in a sentence. That's why we're doing some special shows on it. And this week I bring you another one. This one is with Michael Bunker, who has been on the show a couple of times. He's no stranger to the show. But Michael is one of the co-creators of Apocalypse Weird, along with Nick Cole and Tim Grawl. And we wanted to come on and just talk more in depth about it. Also, you can go back and listen to the Author Stories Roundtable podcast from a couple of weeks ago. That show had 6 authors on it, me and 5 others, and all 6 of those authors now have signed on to write books and stories in the Apocalypse Weird universe. So for more information on this show, if you enjoyed this and this concept, the Apocalypse Weird that I'm talking about with Michael, go back and listen to the show with Nick and listen to the roundtable, and you'll get a much larger picture of what's going on. Enough of that, and on to my show with Michael Bunker. Well, welcome to another special edition of the Author Stories podcast. We are once again talking about this new publishing revolution, if we could be so bold as to put it in those words, Apocalypse Weird. Last time we had one of these special shows, I talked with Nick Cole, who is the creative director, I guess would be his title. And
Right.
Today we have my good friend Michael Bunker on the show as to talk more about Apocalypse Weird. Welcome to the show again, Michael.
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So, a few things before we dig into Apocalypse Weird. You and Kevin G. Summers, had a pretty fantastic day yesterday, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah,
It was very nice.
What in the world happened?
That one came out of the blue. In times past, when I've gotten a daily deal from Amazon, I think I've had 3 Kindle daily deals. They usually give you some warning, a day or two, maybe even a week beforehand that they're going to do that. And late the night before, our good friend I think it might have been either Stefano or Iman in Ireland. I think it was one of the two. It was somebody in Europe who was up at the time, messaged me, or they put on Twitter that Legendarium had been picked as an Audible daily Audible daily deal. And I thought, well, that can't be. Maybe it's just like they're just doing a feature of a bunch of different books. And so I got over there, and lo and behold, that's what it was. It was actually picked for the 24-hour daily deal on Audible, and went to number 1 on both Audible.com and Amazon.com in their audiobooks.
Man, that is nuts.
It's crazy.
That is. So tell us a little bit about Legendarium. What is that book? It's a sequel of sorts, isn't it? Or
Right.
At least a continuation of a story?
Yeah, and we may have talked about this when I did the podcast with you, but
Yeah.
early 2013, it was January, and I was between a writing project, in the midst of a writing project, and I had a little time, and I was in this little competition. Just a quick rehash. That was the goal was to write a long form piece of fiction in 30 hours, less than 30 hours, and it was nuts. It was crazy, and it was something. So I decided I was going to do it.
Yeah, and that was How We Must Die, right?
How We Must Die, right? And I got a motel room and a bunch of cappuccino and scotch, and stayed up and wrote this funny little. And it was really something I wanted to do because I really do like satire and irony and meta comedy. And so I kind of made this little goofy story up about publishing, and not long after that, maybe 6 or so months after that, I met Kevin G. Summers. I may have been 7 or 8 months after that. I was commissioned by Amazon to write the first commission sanctioned novel in the world of Kurt Vonnegut, and Kevin had written probably the first Vonnegut fanfic ever to be published and sold for money, which was an awesome little story he wrote called The Bell Curse.
Right.
And so we got talking, just chatting, and really hit it off. We're both bearded farmers trying to write. And so we had so many things in common. And he had read How We Must Die, and he just told me, he said, you're really missing your lot in life. You're supposed to be writing comedy. And we would joke about that. And we finally just decided that one day we were going to write a sequel. We wanted to do a sequel of, and a lot of people were asking me for more Bombo Dawson, who was the hero of How I Must Die. So we came up with this idea, and we decided we would have kind of an alter ego for Kevin, who would be like this kind of nerdy professor at junior college, who has like the jackets with the sleeves, the patches on the elbows and all that. So we came up with this. Right. That was really all that we really had come up with, was that we were going to have this conflict between Bombo Dawson, who was kind of this overnight success, having written this hit self-published book, and we were going to have this other character who just hated self-publishing, who was this professor. And so after that, I just kind of let Kevin run with it, and he came up with this great storyline of this Legendarium, which is this library at the nexus of the multiverse, where every book that's ever been written is there in this library, and it's a doorway into that world that exists out there. And so, of course, we had to put the Legendarium under threat so that Bombo and Alistair could go into the Legendarium and actually get into these stories. And we both had in our pocket the stories we wanted to visit. And so we just had, it was one of those things where we just had a blast. We weren't doing it for anybody. We weren't doing it for anything. We weren't trying to write the next great bestseller. It was supposed to be funny. But I also wanted to spend our time that we were doing is having fun, saying some things we wanted to say, and sharp, witty satire. And it just turned out to be really, really good. And a lot of people, if you go and look at the reviews, a lot of people really liked it. The problem was as far as marketing and promoting the book, is a lot of people hadn't read How We Must Die. They were on to my Wick stories, and they were on to Pennsylvania by then. And there's this thing, they really didn't know what to do with it. And so it kind of sat there, and we had the audiobook version made, and I think both of us kind of forgot about it. I think one time or twice maybe over the last 3 or 4 months we've chatting, and we're like, we really need to do Legendarium 2. And this has never been some kind of marketing promotion plan, like we're going to make this thing make millions of dollars. It was always just like, let's have that fun again.
Right.
And then this happened, and it was really, really phenomenal. I never expected it. And then to see it do that well, it was still number one. It dropped off of the Daily Deal at midnight, and it was still number one at 2 or 3 p.m. And the last time I checked, it was still number 2 at full price, which is very rare, and still above Amy Poehler's audiobook, and I think it was Stephen King or somebody. Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy was the other one. So
wow,
very fun.
Do you have any idea how those daily deals are picked? Does anybody know?
I know how the Amazon Kindle daily deals are picked.
Yeah.
But and I can you want me to tell you, right?
Well, I'm not going to ask, but
So I assume it's something like that. With the Kindle Daily Deals, they have these editors or reps that cover all of these different areas. You have reps that work in Kindle Worlds. You have reps that work in fiction, nonfiction, all different kinds of areas. And all of these editors, there's a certain number of them that have a vote. And they can sponsor or suggest or recommend a book. And then they have a group that sits and they decide. And most people don't realize it, but for an indie book, you have very little chance of getting that. The big publishers have people, that's their full-time job, is to try to influence trying to get a book a Kindle Daily Deal.
Just trying to game the system. Yeah,
and just talk to them and just do. I mean, they're constantly. It's a part of like every negotiation on books and everything else, you know. So I would, and I'm guessing here, this is not inside knowledge. I would guess that 75 to 85% of those daily deals go to some type of mainstream published book, whether even an larger indie publisher. But very few of them go to indie books, and even those are really in the Kindle world are really reserved for people that are in Kindle Unlimited or Select, and even then it's still going to be it's a big road because you've got to get somebody to make the recommendation, and then enough people have to look at it and go, okay, this is something they look at the cover. It's like BookBub times 100.
Right.
And so how this happens with ACX, I just got to assume it's something maybe on a smaller scale, but it's probably the same process.
Gotcha. You mentioned, you were talking about Kindle Unlimited just a second ago. I don't think we've ever talked about this. What do you think about the new Kindle Unlimited program? That's really come out in the last couple of months, I guess, and has made a splash since we last chatted on the show. Do you have any thoughts about what impact that's making, and do you have any thoughts about if it's wise for an author to go exclusive or not?
It's a difficult thing because we really still don't know exactly what Amazon's going to do, and they are in the reacting business in this one particular instance.
Right.
Because, you know, initially there was a bunch of authors dove in there. They were looking at maybe $2.10 a book, and they were thinking, okay, there's this new 10% threshold, so the reader has to go 10% into the book before you get paid. But it's going to be something where there's going to be a number of readers who are going to download way more books than they used to. So being in the program initially had its kind of allure. And I think some people started to get a little jaded after. I think there was some peaks real quickly, and then it dropped off. And then some people started actually, you know, relatively losing money. Some of the bigger players in the indie world were losing money, and some of them pulled their books back out. To me, I don't look at it. I don't want to say this in a way that judges anybody else's way of looking at marketing or promotion.
Yeah.
But I try to look at it more big, whole world, kind of big picture. And to me, being in Select and by being in Select, being in Kindle Unlimited, to me is more of a phase of a long-term launch that I've talked about in my launch webinars. Mm-hmm. It's not something that I'm doing because I think it's going to make me a lot of money or I think it's going to make me more money. It's not really even figured into that as far as I look at it. I in all of my launches and all of my books, I'm trying to look more long term. And what is the best thing for the book to get as many real reads? And if you know me, you know I don't count 99 cents or free Kindle stuffing as real reads.
Right.
I want to get any real reads as possible. And so there were people gaming the system at the beginning, and they were like putting out 30-page books because it was so easy to get past the 10% portion and get your money.
I've not even thought of that.
Yeah, and they caught on to that pretty quickly. But the real thing is that if you're doing that, you're not really building a career. You know, what you're really doing is trying to kind of game the system during this we're on the fumes of this indie book revolution. at least the first stage of it. And I don't think that's a good place to be. I think we need to be thinking more long term. And thinking long term, I look at Kindle Unlimited as just another tool. And so everybody has to examine and think, how am I going to get the most number of reads without damaging myself with the Amazon algorithms or anybody else's algorithms by jacking my price up and down? You don't want to be putting it in and taking it out every however often they let you do it. And so what I've done recently and what we did with Tales from Pennsylvania is, we start off wide with a wide launch. So we're not in Kindle Select. We're not in Unlimited. Try to establish price as a stable price and get our reviews and establish a reputation for quality. Then after a month or two, we pull it out of all the other bookstores. We leave it. We go just into Select and try to really, really maximize the eyeballs we can get on the biggest store that's out there. And then that'll last for a month or so, and then we'll go wide again. So it's just a part of a bigger plan.
Gotcha. And the idea is to, and we talked about this a little bit on the roundtable that comes out next week, was looking at your writing not as some of these folks that we've all seen that just want to rush into writing, throw up a bunch of crap, make some quick money, and then get out and go find whatever the next new thing is. Those aren't writers. Those are
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, and I think there are some of those who actually think that it might work for them, that they might turn it into a career. I think some of them might sincerely believe that's. But it's the way first of all, not like we said, not everybody should be writing. So all of the skills need to be there, the talent needs to be there, and it needs to be worked on and improved. But all of us that take this seriously as a career need to be looking at a more long-term picture. We can no longer be acting like it's 2011 and this is the gold rush. We really, really need to be focusing on quality, value, and a long-term perspective.
That's right. So, tell us a little bit about Apocalypse Weird. We talked to Nick Cole a couple of weeks ago, and Nick gave us this real kind of overarching feel for what the idea and what the dream was for it. What is your take on Apocalypse Weird? When you start thinking about the project, what is it that really excites you?
Well, I think this is an element of the next stage, and that is that we're in a business that's evolving, and we have some patterns to look at, the way some other industries that are artistic industries have evolved in the indie age. And and this is something that had been talked about that I ran in going back to late 2012 or 2013. We've seen a lot of indies moving into taking part in anthologies, box sets, book bundles, some cooperative marketing and promotional groups like guilds or leagues. I know of a few author groups that have kind of lumped themselves up into a pseudo kind of publishing house where they're not really a publishing house, but they'll have a name. It's kind of a cool thing where they promote one another's books and they really try to improve overall vision of their product. And so it's kind of a packaging idea. And what we, several of us had talked about for a year or so was, what if we just took it to the next stage? What if we actually created a brand world where, like Marvel or DC Comics or Star Trek, and there's so many good authors out there. There's a lot of them that are being very successful, hybrid work, and then there's a lot of them just trying to get started who are really spectacular authors. And so this was an idea that had been floated, and I've been sitting at bars with some pretty big name authors, and I've been sitting in private Facebook author groups where these ideas were bandied about. And a little over a year ago, Nick and I had decided we were going to write a book together, and the concept of marketing that book was about as big a concept as you could come up with. Nick had an idea of actually creating this type of brand world. At that time, it was much more structured to where it was going to be two or three of us to start off with, but it was going to immediately go into video games, film marketing, TV, all of these things. It was just a really, really big concept. And the only one we knew of that could even, I was 99% positive nobody could do it as big as Nick wanted to do it. But we decided that one way or another we would write the book. We wanted to work together. We had a great concept for a book. And the book was really just this beginning of a sandbox for something much bigger. And we approached some people at Amazon, got some interest, moved a little bit up the ladder, and actually got to speak to somebody who was a muckety-muck at 47 North. And they said, yeah, we love the idea, put it together, create as much of it as you can so that we could have this almost kind of sizzle reel or a pitch that we can take it farther up the ladder and see what we can do. So Nick and I worked on that for a couple of months, and we had maps made, all kinds of stuff. It was really, really fun. And we wrote 2 episodes of the story, and eventually, they came back and they asked for more, and we gave them more of the story. And then eventually they came back and they said, you know what, we love the idea, we love the story, but this would entail us starting a whole new company. We would have to start a whole new company, and we're just not there right now. We're not ready to do it. So when Amazon tells you they're not ready to do it, you kind of put it on the shelf, because
right.
who do you go to after that? You're going to go to Google or somebody?
Right.
And so at that point, we kind of put it on the shelf, and we decided we would think about it, pray about it a little bit. And then, things went on, and we were writing books separately, and we talked all the time. And then one day I got a message from Tim Grahl, and the nickname for this idea that was out there in the ether was, I'm trying to think of what it was. It'll come to me. There was a nickname for this thing. It's going to come to me in a minute. But he said, what do you think about this idea? And I said, well, Nick and I are already like way down the road on this as far as conceptually. And he said, well, I want in. So I got a hold of Nick. Nick and I and Tim got together. We had a whole lot of meetings and really, really started working on it, and kind of and the general concept was that wouldn't it be interesting if, and these aren't all indies, there's hybrids and some mainstream folks, but what if we got a bunch of the really, really, really exciting authors that are out there got together and had this brand world, and these would be our kind of tier 1 authors that we would start this world with, and then we would go through the process of creating a company so that we could copyright and trademark all of the important elements, and that we could direct it so that it had some type of management of the actual arcs, and then bring these authors in and just let them go and just see what comes out of it. And the more we started working with the idea and talking with authors, people got really, really fired up about it. And then the big idea was, not only do we have this back office stuff where, we're creating software, we're creating brand new methods of taking a book from idea all the way to the finished product. It's very streamlined. In other words, we're taking all the stuff we learned as indies, because the mainstream publishers don't do it this way.
Yeah. They
do it a very expensive way that takes months and years, and then they engage in a lot of marketing practices that just don't work in our new indie world. So we took the ideas that the three of us had learned, and we're basically codifying those into software, into every element of the business, so that we can mainstream this and streamline it so that we get it going. And then the authors were all for it. So that's where we are, and we put out our first teaser book just the day after Thanksgiving, which is The Red King by Nick Cole. It has gotten fantastic reviews. I think I just looked and we had 51 reviews.
That's an awesome book.
It's an awesome book, and it is what we wanted it to be, which was this idea of how big this playground really is. And most readers aren't going to have a clue where this is going, but we know where it's going. We've had the roadmap from the very beginning. and it's really, really fun. We're having a blast with it.
I had an advanced reader copy of The Red King and read it and thought it was amazing, phenomenal. Then I talked to Nick Cole, and Nick says, "Oh yeah, in the final release, we're gonna bury some Easter eggs and things like that." So Black Friday, or actually it actually came out. I think it was Thanksgiving Day or maybe the day before.
Yeah, it came out
Amazon had it a little early, and I went and snagged it and read it all over again because I was looking to see what Nick had hidden in there, and I kind of get I'm sure a lot of other people were like me, and as these books come out, that's going to be part of the fun is seeing how big this world is and seeing what you can connect back to other storylines and books and things like that, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, and I've talked to some pretty big name authors that are going to be coming on board with us, and just to actually show them little peeks in behind the curtain. Yeah. We've got websites, entire websites that are buried in the web that are all going to be part of this, that people are going to be able to find clues about in the text. Nick's got mysteries in the Red King that me and Tim don't even know about. I mean, every once in a while he'll drop a little bomb on us, and we're like, "Oh man, that is awesome!" And so, I mean, we're working with video people, we're working with comic book people. We are, we got contracts working with all. It's bigger than people could imagine, and it's going to be really, really fun. So, we're working. I had an author contact me the day before yesterday, and she had come up with an idea about how we can plant some things in each of our stories that would really kind of cross-pollinate, and there's just some neat things going on. And it's not one of those things where, with the exception of the Red King, where if you get one of the novels that you're going to be disappointed because you just didn't get the whole story. And that's not going to happen. All of the stories are going to be intact novels that are fun to read, very much hearkening back to 1950s sci-fi kind of fun stories. And at the same time, for the people that want to play, there's going to be a lot to play with. And so it's been fun. To me, it's almost like, and I know Lost left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but everybody who watched Lost remembers the first season and a half. And every minute you were going, what the? Shut the front door. What the world? Everybody remembers them looking down that shaft with that, at the end of the first season and going, what in the world? Because the whole thing had changed.
Right.
And I remember halfway through season 2 of Lost, I remember trying to explain to a guy the story, and it was like, I can't explain it. And that's really where we are. We know the whole storyline. We know where it's going and how we're going to get there. But we're still in that stage, that first season of Lost stage, where like, that is so cool. That is so cool the way this is happening. And I think all of our authors are experiencing that, and all of our readers are going to be going through it too.
So when is the actual launch? Because the Red King coming out is kind of a teaser launch, isn't it?
Right.
So when does this thing actually get spun up?
Our scheduled launch is February 23rd, 2015. And I'm most certain that we're going to hit that date. The only thing that could delay us is if we have a hiccup on getting the covers and getting the final editing done. But we have a schedule. We're on the schedule. We're doing really well. Pardon me. If we can do that, February 23rd is going to be fun. We're going to drop 5 books on February 23rd. Crazy. And this is going to be 5 different worlds within this world. In other words, 5 different arcs are going to start in 5 different regions of the world. One of those books will be the second book in the weird arc, which is Nick Cole's Red King. And Nick Cole and I are writing our book that started this whole thing called Digger. We're at the point of finishing it right now. I think I've got to have it back to him tomorrow at the end of the day. And
is this
Digger,
a collaborative thing?
Yes, Nick and I. This is the story that started it all, was Digger. And Nick and I, this is the one that we wrote, that we turned into Amazon and that they loved, and really, really kind of kicked this whole thing off. And so we're going to have that done. That's the first book and at least a 3-book arc in Digger. And it's really going to do a lot towards kind of laying out what this brand world is like. And then we've got some awesome other books that are dropping on the same day. We've got a lot of great. So the marketing promotion part is the part that's going on now. But once February 23rd hits, word of mouth going to be like a grass fire, because it's going to be really fun, because you're going to have most of these books are novel length, but they may be on the shorter end of novel length. So you're going to be able to pump through these things. They're going to be quite inexpensive. So, people are going to start reading 2 or 3 of these, basically like reading a series where you have the different locations all in the same world, and you're basically going to be starting different arcs. And so it's going to be really, really fun. And then that feeds into our down the road plan. We're going to start dropping 2 books. Those will be on, I believe it's
which you cut out. You said 2 books a month?
Yeah, we're going to be dropping 2 books a month every month.
Wow.
And it's either going to be the first and third or the second and the fourth Tuesday. I think it's first and third Tuesday of every month. So everybody's going to know Tuesday is Apocalypse Weird Day. And we're going to be dropping new episodes that are going to come out, and they'll be in all of these different arcs. And that's going to play out for a while. We're going to be bringing a lot of fanfic writers. We've already got swarmed with people wanting to write in this world. And so we're working with Third Scribe to set up a system through Third Scribe where fanfic writers are going to be able to write short stories or novellas in the worlds that we've developed. And then those that are the best, that get the most attention, that are the best written, then we're going to be awarding those authors with contracts as well to add to the overall Apocalypse Weird World. It's something that's never been done. The scope is so huge. It really is a game changer. And I can tell you, we're not going to be the first ones to do it. We're just going to be the best.
Now, doing some very rough math, we've got The Red King. We've got 5 books dropping in February, and then 2 books a month for the next 5 years. That's about 100 books.
That's right. And that's
a crap load of books.
It is, and it's conservative, because let's just say that Nick is planning on having his Red King arc. The Weird arc is going to be 12 books. And so we're going to have writers that are going to be wanting to expand that world just because it's fun, because people are loving it. And so if I come up with a 4th one in the Digger world, we'll drop 2 books on a Tuesday instead of 1, and we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure we're feeding the fire. Our foundational philosophy coming from the world is the problem is not that there are too many books out there. There are a lot of books out there, but there aren't that many really good ones. And the people you love to read, they don't write enough books. I don't get anybody. I've never had a complaint of people writing me going, you just write tongue in cheek.
Right.
But most of the people are like, when is this coming out? When is Oklahoma coming out? When is when's Futurity coming out? When's Brother Frankenstein coming out? I get that 4 or 5 times a day. Right. And so I think that what we're going to be able to do is feed this insatiable hunger that people have for really, really good storytelling. And that's the foundation of what the company and what the world is all about.
And you're absolutely right. Nobody says to their favorite writer, "You publish too much." I have a handful of writers that I've followed for years, and I wish to God they would put out more than they do. And but yeah, I think that we're in a golden age if you love books, this is the time to live for sure.
You're absolutely right. And the thing is, the good about the Apocalypse world is you can get what you want. You don't have to read all of the arcs if you don't want to. You could find one that you like. Perhaps you like Nick Cole's Weird World in Southern California, and you want to follow that all the way to its end. It's going to be perfect for you. You can do that, and you can be satisfied, and you can be happy. If you want to follow the Digger world in Central Texas, and you want to go through that 3 or 4 book arc, and that's really what you're interested in, then you can do that. There are going to be people, and I'm going to be one of them, because I am loving everything that I've read so far. I'm going to try to read every one of these things as they come out. And I think I can do it. So it's going to be fun. And it's, I just feel like, somebody finally did something right. You see movies and you're like, oh, why did they make those last couple of Transformer movies so bad? Or,
Wait, just the last couple?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave
I'm
that
trying
alone.
to talk geek. I'm totally out of my league, but just trying to relate, man.
Look,
And,
just because you live off grid, don't pretend. Yeah.
So so we're having a blast, and it's going to be something readers are really, really going to have fun with.
So, do you guys have pricing figured out yet, or is that still something you're working on? Like, how much are these going to sell for, do you think?
Well, we're working on it. We've got some ideas, but I think we're going to shoot for to start off at $4.99, which I think that's a really, really good price. We may drop it, and we're not. It's one of the good things is we're not a mainstream publisher who has to do something. We have to, they come out with, Nick Cole's awesome book, Soda Pop Soldier, launched at $8.99. And then somebody over there got something right for a little while. For a month, they had it for $1.99.
Yeah.
And then I looked the other day, and it was $11.99.
That's crazy.
And it's
That's
just
a great
crazy.
book.
It is, and more people need to read it. And what we're going to do is listen to the fans and the authors. And to us, this is not about trying to hit a home run. The mainstream policy is, they go out and sign 25 authors to new contracts. And like Nick says, they throw them up against the wall and hope something sticks.
That's right.
They're looking for that one big hit. They're not looking for a big hit. I think all of our books are going to be a hit, but all of them are going to get the attention they deserve. And we're going to price them where the readers want them and where readers are willing to pay for the quality and for the things we're going to be adding into the books. These are not going to be cheap throwaway dime novels. They're going to be full-length, really, really good books with a lot of attention and love put into them. So we're going to find the right price, and when we get there, we're going to stick to it in a way that the readers can expect and budget for their 2 books a month.
That's pretty exciting.
It is.
Now, when I talked to Nick, I asked him if these books would come out in paperback, and he seemed to think, no, probably not, at least in the beginning. Well, I was browsing around Facebook the other day, and I forgot where, but someone mentioned that there might be some paperbacks. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, it's something we've actually kind of changed our position a little bit on it, and we go back and forth. There was an idea from the beginning that this was going to be a digital endeavor.
Right.
Not because
kind of your language from the beginning was this was never been done in digital publishing before.
And it hasn't, and that's really our focus. Then the question was, what do we do with print? Because print books, let's just talk about you and me, or your average indie author.
Yeah.
You don't sell a lot of print books.
No.
I probably sell a little bit more than some people because I kind of talk about it and I show people the videos and I sign books and I have a tendency to kind of push print. But
it's a premium for a particular customer.
Right. But there are segments where print is popular. I've written some nonfiction books and I sell way more nonfiction books in print than I sell in ebook format. And so cookbooks, survival books, things like that, people like print books. And I have a feeling that this type of book, this story, which is going to have some comic book elements and have some of that kind of graphic novel feel to it, that there are going to be a large number of people that are going to want to have these books. Just the collector's nature of them, because these things, if you look on the cover of Red King, up in the left-hand side, there's a little flag that says Weird 1.0, because that's the first book in that arc of Apocalypse Weird. On mine, it'll say Digger 1.0. And so I think just the collector nature of it, they're gonna make us do it.
Yeah.
And so we're preparing for that already.
And I know you are a book collector. You have tons of books, and so am I. I have bookshelves through my house and I have my Kindle and my laptop are full of ebooks that I read all the time. But if I find something that I love, I get a paperback of it. I just love the tactile feeling of owning that paperback. And I've got a bunch of books from my friends on my desk, my writing desk, um, and these Mike Corley covers.
Right.
That's going to be nuts. My,
Yeah.
my my boys and I will read some digital comics, and then we'll go get the hardcover collections of ones that they like because it's the collector nature of it. And I think that there would be a ton of people that want to have that whole collection of matching covers. And
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like the thing that we have access to any music that we want in digital format, and then I still dig up LPs, from thrift stores and stuff because I like the big cover art. And
Yeah, I do. I like the feel of it. I like to
I
put
do
them on.
too.
My sister just sent me all of her vinyl from the 70s, and I've been going through that and just having a blast. But
Man.
I think in particular, Apocalypse Weird is going to have that kind of allure. It already has it for me. I mean, I'm already envisaging kind of a 5-foot wall shelf of Apocalypse Weird books, and then going through them with my children and grandchildren, hopefully someday go through those. And this is Weird Digger 1.0 and all of that, just because it's such a tactile, fun type of thing, and it's almost made for that. So we're already planning for the print. We're already going to print with Red King, and at some point this could develop into something else, where maybe we spin off the print portion so that we can get them into bookstores and have them available online. That's something that we've talked about, and we're going to be working on that. But we're looking at actual graphic novels. We're talking to people about moving into other medium with these stories. We're talking with 2 filmmakers right now on different projects that are going to be linked into Apocalypse Weird. This is going to be a multimedia, fun, exciting world, and it's something people can get in on the ground level and really, really explore it and have fun with it.
Why did you decide to put one book out a couple of months before the rest? Was there some logic behind that? That kind of launch hype decision?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of things, probably 3 or 4 things that we had. We wanted to commit ourselves, and we're committed.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to commit ourselves to the project. It's very easy when you're in the position we're in, and we have formed a company, and we've got lawyers, and we've got the business side of this is so in depth. I mean, when you start talking about different rights and movie rights and the different language that you need when you're dealing with copyrightable and trademarkable things and fanfic and all of these things, it's very, very complex. And the easiest thing to do is put it off and say, we can do this late 2015 or 2016. And that was something what we feared, was that we were going to lose ourselves in the business of it. And the business people always want to throttle it down. And to us, the 3 of us, we knew that would kill the idea. The idea here is the indie spirit that is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write a book in November. I'm going to write a full novel. I'm going to edit that thing. I'm going to put a cover on it, and I'm going to put it out there and just let that thing live and breathe. And so our concept of putting out Red King, first of all, was that we wanted to already have readers talking about, with us and with one another, about ideas. Because, to be totally frank with you, we're listening to everybody. And there are people shoot out ideas, and we're like, stole that. and at the same time, it was always a part of our marketing plan, was that we wanted to, the plan that Nick and Tim and I have talked about in the webinars, is that you put together the best quality product that you can get, and you soft launch it so that you can build a concept of quality and the concept of what it is you're doing, so that when you do come out and tell people, listen, I'm doing this and I'm doing it big, that you have something. There's something really, really there for people to look at. And so we knew it was going to take 3 months to build the type of buzz that we wanted to have. At the same time, we wanted to make sure that we had a foundation, a platform. If people could backward engineer our plan, if you were looking at this 6 months from now and looking back, you'll see that this part of the plan from Black Friday until February 23rd is this. We're basically erecting a foundation, and that means that we are locating our readers. We learned from Amazon. We learned from a lot of people that have done things right. We want to know who our readers are. We want to know where they are, and we want to know how to get a hold of them. And so a lot of what we're doing is working with the our people so that we can make sure that we have 10,000, 20,000, 25,000 people we can contact on February 23rd and say, now's the day to go out and do this thing. Too often, and I think we've all been guilty of it as authors in the indie world, there's this kind of idea that you're like sticking your little book onto a ice floe and kicking it out to sea and hoping some bird picks it up or something. And
right.
One thing that Tim and I have really, really told people is that you need to take the time to build platform. And that's what we're doing. We learn from ourselves, and we're going to take 3 months here, and we're going to build platform. And we're asking every single person. We're not, selling your stuff to the government. They already know everything about you anyway. What we're doing is we're saying, listen, we want to be able to focus our attention and the dollars that we're going to spend and all of that marketing and promotion on getting it to the people who want this kind of thing, who want to experience this really, really revolutionary idea. And so we're looking to launch these books big, and that's what this plan is. And we're working it every day. We spend 6 to 8 hours a day working the plan that we have to get these things out to the people.
Do you think as the project gets off the ground and picks up steam, do you think it'll be easier to manage, or do you think that it's going to become infinitely more complex?
I think there's going to be some of both of those things. The easier thing is, hopefully, we will never again be dropping 5 books on one day. Yeah. That is the scale of that. Even I think indies might have trouble getting their mind around it. It is a huge endeavor to do that, and to get all of those books edited perfectly, to have the right covers, to have all of this cross promotion so that we've got Easter eggs planted in all the books. It's a Herculean endeavor. That hopefully will never happen again, and that should make putting out 2 books a month be fairly straightforward. Right now, we're actually building this infrastructure. So you have to think of it like Henry Ford. Tim is our Henry Ford, and he's actually building the assembly line. And so we've got software being written. We have programmers that are putting together things that are going to help us. This whole back office system that's going to be, it's all new. It's all basically a new thing. And that's going to help us down the road when we have that system in place and we have editors in place and all of those things. But what's going to be harder, we experienced this, I think, what's today? Anyways, 3 or 4 days ago, we kind of hit the point where maybe 500 authors have read the book.
Wow.
And so, we've downloaded a whole lot more books than that, but most of those people aren't authors. Yeah. But at that point, it was like in one day, I think I was contacted by 20 authors at least about some element of how do we participate? How do we write fanfic? How can I write in one of these worlds? Has anybody taken the Pacific Northeast or Russia or something? And that part of it is going to be more and more complex. There's going to be more questions and more dealing with issues of that type. And I'd look at my own life, my own writing career, and in early 2013, I could. I didn't have 7,000 people trying to contact me, and so I could sit here at the computer, do a little Facebook, go run around with the children, knock out 4 or 5 hours of writing, then go, hang out with my wife and go walk, something like that. And that's 2014. There's no way, the business side of it really, really takes over, and you're talking to agents and you're talking to marketing people and you're talking to Amazon. And so that part of Apocalypse Weird is going to become more intense, I would think. But there has been a plan all along to really streamline this thing so that it can be run in a very efficient way. And so that part of it I'm really enjoying.
Now, you talked about that there's this whole system being built, this whole machine, this back end, and all this new software and all these processes that are that you guys are building and putting into place to handle the business of it and to handle the kind of the way it all works. But where are you finding writers to be involved?
I think we started off with some wish lists of who people that we know can write. For me, I've been kind of the focus point of contact with most of the authors. Probably 95% of the authors, I've been the one that's contacted them. And so we started off with several different, like we call it a get list. These are the people we'd like to get. And we've had some people, every answer you can imagine. We've had people that love the idea. They just, they're booked for a year and a half. They want to do it and they're going to do it, but they can't get to it for a year and a half. They got many books. I'm almost at that place where I was talking to Nick today about, maybe we'll do this. And he's like, you know what? I can't write another book right now. I got just too many things. And so there's some authors in that place, some authors contractually because they're locked into, these stupid non-competes are not able to do it right now. And then there's others who just, this is a new thing and it's scary. And they just really kind of want to wait and see.
Yeah. And
then there were some big names who just jumped at us and said, I'm all over this, man. I want in on this thing. And so, that's the way we've been working it. And then we've tried to actually really recruit some people either regionally or because of some element that they add to the overall of what we're trying to do. Yeah. And so, we've got a really, really good mix of the type of authors that we want, the areas that we want to cover, even experience levels. What we did not want, and we experienced this some up front, we did not want 12 A-list prima donnas trying to launch this thing. You can't do it. You just can't do it.
Yeah, and Nick talked a little bit about that. About there's just some people that that we're not at their level yet.
Right. Exactly. It's like there's something about this thing where you really have to submit yourself to this overarching worldview, and it kind of parallels our other life. Our non-writer life that. It's not all about you. And when you're writing in a world like this, if you go to write for Marvel or if you go to write for Star Trek, you're really submitting yourself to this strictures about who you are and how important you are to the overall thing. And for some people, that's just not something that they can do. And so, it was just never going to work to have 12 or 14 or 15 A-listers competing. The personalities and all, it just was never going to work. So we knew from the very beginning that we were looking for, it's like Moneyball. You ever saw Moneyball?
Yeah, yes.
We've been very much Moneyball, whereas, we're looking for undervalued talent, people who we know that a year or two from now, it would be almost impossible for us to get just because they're that good and they just haven't been found yet. And so we got people like Chris Porteau, Kevin G. Summers, people like Leslie Smith, Jennifer Ellis. And I'm not going to name everybody so everybody else can be offended, but I'm pointing them out to say these are people who I know in a year or two are going to be A-list authors. They're just that good.
Right.
And you read their stuff and you're just, we signed up Elena Giorgi. You've had her on the show.
Yeah.
And
brilliant
she's
writer.
Fantastic. It was after I listened to her on your show, I picked up Chimeras, and and because I listened to her on your show, she and I have talked before, but I just don't have time to read everybody.
Yeah.
And I picked it and I read it, and I told my daughter, my 17-year-old daughter is kind of my she's my slush pile reader. I skipped right over her and I read Chimeras, and I said, you really need to read this. This is a fantastic book. And I was just blown away by it. And I contacted her the next morning And I said, we really, and she's another one where, there's some people out there, you just scratch your head and you go, why is this person not a superstar while there's superstars out there who can't write?
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is we're playing Moneyball. We're trying to rip through the noise and all of the egos and all that kind of stuff and reach in there and go, okay, this is somebody who's a great writer that a lot of people just don't know anything about.
What a genius idea. You touched on it just a minute ago, and Leslie Smith asked this question earlier today about, or maybe it wasn't Leslie, about the world of Apocalypse Weird, and are you going to branch out more than just the continental U.S. and Japan, which I think are the two regions that are currently slated? Are there plans to take it worldwide?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we've got a writer writing in the Arctic and
nice.
in northern Canada. We've got several areas of the continental U.S. And we have Japan and London, England is already covered, and I believe there was one other European one. But so yeah, we're already there. And I just talked to two new authors this week who are both going to be coming on board. And if I said their names right now, they would people would be just giddy and excited about it. So awesome. And they do not live in the continental United States. So we really try to give the authors their own choice as much as what is open is where they're going to write. But yeah, we're going to try to cover the whole world.
Great. When the books come out, how will people find them? If you've got, if you have so many different authors publishing, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these are going to be published under a central umbrella so that they're easily found. How is that going to work?
Well, if you are going to type in Apocalypse Weird into any search engine on any bookstore, all of those books are going to come up because of the way that we're entering them into the system. They'll come up as Apocalypse Weird books, and then they will have the title of the book, and then in parentheses will be the arc that they're a part of. Another element of it, we're going to be very heavily present in the internet and on social media. We're going to have a website that'll have a map on it, and you can click on a region. If you're interested in the Sahara Desert, if you're interested in Russia, if you're interested in East Germany, you could click on that and you can find an arc that's being written in that area. So there's going to be a lot of different ways. Is
anybody interested in East Germany?
I am, but I'm not writing there.
That was a little joke for our friend Stefan. But we'll see if that's to test if he's listening.
I bet he is.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, anyway, so they'll be able to find them online. They'll all be listed together. And then we're going to have on the website, we'll have pages for each of the arcs. We're going to have a wiki site, which is going to allow people to not only search it by, a particular region, but they can, if you like zombie books, if you want to read about dragons, if you want to read about, time travel, whatever elements, they'll be able to pull them up by those elements too. So it's really going to be a fun way, cross-referenced type of system that people are going to use to find the books.
What about if a person has a favorite author that they want to look for in Apocalypse Weird? Can they search by author to dig into their particular arc?
Every author will have their own page, and so they'll have that element, so they'll be able to go either alphabetically or just to type in the author's name. They can go to that author's page. The individual author, their own Amazon pages, all of the Apocalypse Weird books will be listed there as well. And so, if you're a big Nick Cole fan, you can just go to Nick Cole's page on Amazon. You click on his name, you go to his actually Amazon page, and it'll have the list of his books there. And so all of his Apocalypse Weird books will be there as well. And we're also going to be encouraging the authors to add and expand on their own websites and blogs listing their Apocalypse Weird works. So it's really going to be easy and it's going to be fun.
Awesome. At the end of the 5 years, will Apocalypse Weird be done, or will there be? And I know we're looking way down the road, but will there be possibilities that it can continue, or is it going to be a finite ending?
The ending we have talked about and kind of codified.
Yeah.
There is an ending to this story, the overarching umbrella arc. There will be an ending to that, but after that, there is an existence. And so it very, very likely there will be characters who survive our culmination, and there will be a world. There will be nuance of time after the culmination of the events of the 5-year arc. And so, people that want to continue on with that, it's still going to be available. And we're still going to be very, very much interested. The 5-year arc was never an end to us. It was always just, okay, we need to make sure. We don't want to do what a lot of stories have done on TV and movies where it's just like this open end that just never ends.
And you wind up jumping the shark.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that. We've got a culmination in mind. We have the story of it in mind. We have a finished arc in mind. But just like at the end of Breaking Bad, there's these characters that you cared about that go on after that, and there are still stories that could be told after that. We're going to be in that position. In the meantime, during those 5 years, Wonderment Media, which is the parent company of Apocalypse Weird, is going to be launching new worlds, completely different other worlds that people can be interested in as well.
Well, I won't pin you down to tell us more about that, but I'm sure we'll be hearing more about some of these other worlds to come. Any other final words about Apocalypse Weird and what we should expect and what we could be doing as the ground team to help you guys get this thing off the ground and get excitement going?
Well, the main thing we need people to help share the Red King. If you go to apocalypseweird.com, there's a place there where you can share the Red King. It's free. It's free of charge. Talk it up. Make sure everybody gets it. There's no reason not to give somebody a free gift. And at the same time, help us talk about it. We're in the place right now where we really want to know what you think about the book. We want to know your ideas. We're going to be working on a wiki page that's going to get started, kind of starting this whole wiki world. The Apocalypse Weird world. And so readers, authors, this is an interactive world. And so we want everybody working together as best we can. But the main thing is we need people to go to apocalypseweird.com. We need them to sign up to make sure they receive all of the information. We don't really want to have to spend, when you get to that actual launch point, there's X amount of dollars you have to spend to get somebody's attention. And what we want to do is make that go as far as possible, because we don't have a whole lot of money to start off with. We're doing this with the authors. We're all bootstrapping it, and we're trying to get it done. And so we need as many people to get on that page and sign up and get as many of their friends signed up as possible, so that when the launch time comes, the higher the platform we're standing on when we launch, the higher we're going to go. And that's really, really the easiest way to help us.
Awesome. If you go to apocalypseweird.com right now, the site is a single landing page with the Red King. Is that site going to open up to give more information and more teasers soon?
Yes, and if people will put a / and I'm going to try it right now while we're talking. I think if they will put a / in the word countdown, that they will get to the sign up page. And let me try that. See if that works. I know.
Yep, it works. I just pulled it up on mine. 80 days, 2 hours, 51 minutes, and 42 seconds.
That's it. Click here for inside access. So apocalypseweird.com / countdown is where you need to go. And there's a little fun teaser map there too.
Yeah, that's okay. I've seen this this photo posted, but this is the first time I've gotten to really look at. Awesome. I'll dig into that. Before we go, is there anything that you would like to say about Cold Harbor and when that book's coming out? No. You don't have to answer that.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, thanks, Michael Bunker. I appreciate you coming on the show and peeling back another layer of Apocalypse Weird. And we'll be sure to send everybody to to get a free copy of The Red King, and we're eagerly anticipate the full launch.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.